Today, me and my two other friends are going to be surviving 100 days in the brand new 1.21 update in Minecraft Hardcore. Exploring all the newly added features such as the trial chambers, the mace, and even all the new mobs. Anyways, this is 100 days in 1.21 Minecraft Hardcore Trios Edition. Day 1, you all know how these worlds begin. We just began by chopping down some trees for wood, crafted a crafting table, followed by a wooden pickaxe, where we then collected some stone, upgraded our tools, and then not too far from our spawn point, we found a village. We ran over to the village and started looting it, taking whatever we could get our hands on. Lots of crops, a bed, we even got a pet cat. One of the chests inside a village house had half iron armor, an iron pickaxe, and 3 obsidian. So that was a very nice find. We did a bit more looting, followed by a few more random things, and I also may have almost killed one of my friends, definitely on accident. Anyways, the night was setting, so we all went to sleep. Day 2 began with collecting some more wood, and then we all went exploring, where we found a brand new dog type. And unfortunately, none of us had any bones, so we couldn't get this dog. We then continued exploring, climbed up mountains in order to look for a place where we could settle down and build our house. Also, whilst we're running around, consider subscribing. Only 3% of my viewers are actually subscribed, and I'll be doing a face reveal at 1 million subscribers. Anyways, on top of this mountain, there was a cherry blossom biome, and also a second village. So we decided that this is the place that we would make home. Whilst I waited for the others to make their way up onto the mountain, I went ahead and started collecting some coal. I also got given a flower. How cute. And that pretty much sums up the entire day, because pretty much straight after, we all went to sleep. I myself started day 3 by getting attacked by a zombie, and then I went to the village to take all the hay bales to myself. Also, for like half this day, there was just a ton of mindless running around where we didn't really do a whole lot. Eventually, I collected some iron, quite a bit of it, and some coal as well. Can't have too much of that. Afterwards, I returned back to the base area where I found out that Nick had made a small cow farm. That was a pretty boring day, but now we're going to be switching things up a bit, and instead, we're all going to go mining for some upgraded armor and tools. I had a close encounter to a creeper, however, besides that, we just continued mining around in different areas collecting loads of iron. We continued mining in the caves, and eventually the iron mining turned into Nick finding some diamonds, even though we literally weren't trying to find them. And not too long later, I ended up finding some myself. Oh yeah, even more. And as I was going to mine even more diamonds, Nick found a trial chamber, but we won't be entering that for a little while. That's for later. Anyways, we collected a few more diamonds. I then crafted up a bucket where I collected some water, and also crafted up a diamond pickaxe, so then we could collect some obsidian for a nether portal and an enchant table later on. Well, the enchant table, that was going to be now, because for some reason, I decided to bring down paper and leather with me, so I could just craft it up now, which would allow everyone to enchant their armor and tools for better survival. And now that everyone was looking absolutely dashing, I decided to leave them all to continue exploring through the caves on my own, fighting off mobs, finding even more diamonds, and eventually, we all thought it was a good time to leave the caves, but obviously we all got distracted pretty quickly. We found like way more diamonds, and before we could actually even leave the mines, we found a little interesting area in these caves. Let's just say we decided to have some fun.
I'm next to the shrieker. It's not spawning. It's not spawning.
Yeah, we spawned the warden.
I can't see.
Look at this loser. He can't even see anything. Anyways, we then made our way out of the caves safely. No one died, which is good. And that pretty much sums up our entire mining trip. Day 9 started by making a couple farms, including upgrading the current wheat and potato farm. That thing was, pretty small. We also made a sugarcane farm. I then crafted a diamond axe, collected the enchant table, and then went and enchanted my brand new axe, so we could all start collecting a ton of wood materials for our house build. And now, on day 10, we were officially 10% of our way through this 100-day challenge. We continued collecting more materials because the house that we were going to build was going to be pretty big. Anyways, whilst I went AFK to cook up some pizza in real life, Ash began work on the house build. I also started helping out with the house build eventually, also collected some more wood since we were going to need even more than we had just collected. To be honest, there isn't really a whole lot to show for this build. I don't even have a lot to say about the building process. We kind of just winged it and hoped something would work out. On day 15 though, we came to a realization that the log pillars should probably be separated from the actual wall, like 1 block out or something, just just to add some more depth to the build and make it look a whole lot nicer. However, to do that, we would have to tear down the entire house build, pretty much, and start all over again. We also then came to the conclusion that the floor inside our house should probably be changed from the oak wood to something like stone brick slabs. So whilst Nick would go around collecting materials for us, we would just continue building up the house and making it look even better. What great teamwork. After all that, we decided to spend some time sorting out the chest, making it all clean. We then started making a pathway and used walls with lanterns to decorate the area a bit. It was also around this time where some pillagers showed up. And lucky for us, now, instead of the pillagers instantly giving the bad omen effect and starting a raid, we would get bad omen in a potion bottle thing. And we were going to need this later when we go to the trial chambers, so that was pretty nice. To start off day 19, we built a nether portal and then lit it. However, we won't be entering into the nether anytime soon. Instead, we spent some time terraforming the area around our house to make everything look a whole lot nicer. We can't have random craters in the ground making this area look ugly. That's just unacceptable. Anyways, we then used a ton of our iron to craft up some lanterns just to light the area up, placing them on the walls obviously for decoration, and it would make the area look a whole lot nicer. Alright, and now there were a couple more things that we wanted to do around the base before we could really do anything else. And we were going to start off by making a massive farm so we could get loads of food. So we were going to be placing a ton of wheat and potatoes in this massive farm. We were going to need loads of food when we go and explore into the nether later on in the video. So we just wanted to prepare now, because if we're going to be running around in the nether, we can't run out of hunger, otherwise we might die. And now that we had the giant wheat and potato farm, we went around bringing some animals over to our house area. We already had cows, so now we just wanted to bring some sheep and pigs over. Whilst Nick would go out and collect all the animals, I stayed back building up the animal pens. And for the rest of the day, we just continued bringing animals over, building up the pens, and pretty much anything else. Oh yeah, also more pillagers showed up, so more potions for us. And there we have it. Now that we had the food issue sorted out, we could go ahead and start collecting some more diamonds to make better armor and tools, just to ensure we could fight off anything that came up against us when we entered into the nether and even the end fight later. Eventually, we found ourselves back in the caves ready to mine up some diamonds. Straight away, we were ambushed by like a billion mobs, specifically skeletons. And not too long after that, we found our first diamond. And even more, just one though, straight after that. We also found ourselves back in the exact same location we were at when we got the obsidian for the enchant table earlier. And apparently, a furnace with 40 coal and 15 iron was just left behind. I'm still not sure how something like this could happen. Also, apparently Ash is blind or something because she just completely walked straight over some diamonds. I don't even know how she did this as well. Don't even ask. Anyways, we just continued going through the caves, doing some strip mining, finding diamonds, and all that good stuff. We were all getting fairly decent amounts of diamonds. Also, look at this shot right here. What a cinematic genius I am. Anyways, more diamonds. Yeah, we all ended up collecting loads of diamonds, way more than we probably actually needed. However, I guess these extra would be pretty useful for duplicating armor trims and getting the netherite upgrade template duplicated as well sometime in the future. Also, Nick got pretty excited over some diamonds too. Diamonds! Besides all that, it was now time to leave this place and head back home. Now, like 10 times richer though, since we had loads of diamonds. We all had a combined diamond net worth of like 90 now. It was pretty crazy. Once we returned back home, we crafted up full diamond armor. I also got a diamond sword to complete my diamond tool collection. And then we all moved on to enchanting everything. And now we all had fully enchanted diamond armor. So, what do we do now? We were now going to go to the nether. Oh wait, hold on a minute. We actually had to do a little bit of farming before that so we could get some extra food. Yeah, we're not taking any risks. And there we have it. Now it's time to visit the nether and find the nether fortress. I'm pretty sure we got the worst portal location ever. Yeah, we were surrounded by netherrack on every single side of the portal. So we were practically forced to dig our way out. Eventually, we made our way out and started running around exploring looking for the nether fortress, which which luckily for us, honestly, didn't even take that long. So we bridged over to the fortress and then started attacking blazes for blaze rods, also digging around the spawner because why the heck not? Eventually, we came to the conclusion that we had enough blaze rods. So we decided to leave the fortress and continue our explorations in the nether because we still had a few things that we wanted to do in this dimension. Starting with looking for a warped forest biome to fight some endermen for ender pearls. This took a little while. We were at it for quite a long time since the endermen didn't want to drop the pearls. I think we were getting like 1 pearl for every 3 or 4 endermen we would kill. The luck was just not there. Eventually, we had enough though, so we could leave the warped forest biome and now look for the next thing that we wanted to find. And that was a bastion. Since we were already in the nether, we may as well loot a bastion now for the netherite upgrade template, as it would save us some time and save us from having to return to the nether to look for bastions in the future. Anyways, whilst exploring, we finally found a bastion. So we went and bridged up towards it, got ambushed by a few piglin brutes, but then moved on to going inside the bastion. And this is where things got interesting. I also got extremely low on health in the bastion. However, after looting the chest, I got a netherite upgrade template along with some other scraps and debris on my first chest. That was pretty lucky. And now that we have pretty much everything that we need from the nether, for now at least, we could now return back home. But there was no time for messing around because we were going to go straight to the trial chamber that Nick found earlier. We wanted to get that new mace weapon. Now equipped with the potion effect from the pillagers, we entered inside the chamber and started fighting off all the mobs that were spawning from the spawners. Eventually, we beat all the mobs and the spawners dropped some ominous keys, which can only be used in the better vault things, the ones that were surrounded by red candles. I tried my luck using one of the keys on one of the vaults, and unfortunately, I didn't get the heavy core, which is an item needed to craft a mace. Yeah, this might be harder than we originally thought, especially since the heavy core has such a low chance to drop. Despite that, we continued exploring around the chambers. I gave the vault another attempt. Unfortunately, again, it was unsuccessful. Fighting off more mobs, running around more, we pretty much did everything that this chamber was made for. Everything was going fairly smoothly. Nothing really happened. That was until we decided to go into one final room before leaving. This room was very chaotic. However, I just went straight to the vault and I was insanely lucky. We finally got the heavy core. Oh, I actually got it.
No way. No way.
So now we could craft up the brand new mace weapon once we return back home. Obviously, we were ambushed by like a trillion mobs as well, but after that, it was finally time to leave these trial chambers and go back home. After returning back home, we did a bit of goofing around.
I found some pots.
And then it was finally time to craft up the mace. We then tried it out on some more pillagers that decided to show up. This weapon was extremely overpowered.
Whoa. That was so cool.
I also let Ash try the mace out.
Okay. Didn't work.
To hit them normally.
Obviously, we had to get some more cats as well, and then started preparing for the end fight, getting all the items and weapons that we may need for the fight, such as a bow, which we had many of because of the skeletons that we had to defeat in the trial chambers earlier on. And now it was time to go and search for the stronghold, throwing eyes, running around, and doing a very stupid water bucket clutch. That could have ended very badly. We just threw more eyes, continued running around, and eventually we found ourselves next to the stronghold. However, before we actually decided to enter into the stronghold, I wanted to find a cow so I could remove my bad omen effect thing like the others did. And for some reason, it seemed to be practically impossible for us to actually find some cows. It took so long, but eventually I found some, so I milked the cows, drank the milk, and then we went back over to the stronghold. The first thing we were going to do in the stronghold was look for a library so we could take the books, which would allow us to get loads of bookshelves for the enchant table back at home. And then after that, we found the end portal, and it was finally time to go fight my good old pal, the Ender Dragon. On day 45, we all jumped through the end portal, ready to defeat the dragon. And upon arriving in the end, we were faced with the task of digging out a massive staircase to actually get up to the island. For some reason, we were extremely deep underground. We all started shooting at the crystals on top of the pillars, but for some reason, I kind of sucked at it today. So I decided to just build up using some blocks blocks and destroy all the crystals that way. This would make it a whole lot easier for us to destroy the crystals, so yeah, we just went around breaking them all. Eventually, they were all destroyed, so we could move on to actually shooting the dragon, taking down his health, and not too long later, it perched down, so I hit it with my sword. And then we all moved back to shooting it with the dragon once again. Honestly, I think we all pretty much sucked shooting with the bows today. Eventually, the dragon was extremely low on health, so we had to finish it off in style. I pillared up a couple blocks and finished the dragon off with my mace. There we have it. The dragon has now been defeated, so we collected all the XP as well as the dragon egg. So now that's out of the way, we wanted elytras, obviously. So we built up to the gateway and then pearled through using some extra ender pearls that we all had. And instantly, we found an end city. So that was a pretty lucky find. After bridging over to the island, we defeated the shulkers that were at the entrance of the end city, and then we all went inside, where we got ambushed by like a million of the shulkers inside the actual end city. It's like they came back for revenge after what we did to their friends. Anyways, I just pearled over to the end ship, defeated the shulker box that was inside, looted both the chests, and then collected the first elytra of this world. And since my inventory was also pretty full, I went ahead and crafted up a shulker box so I could get some extra storage. Besides that, I collected the dragon head, and then we all went running around for an extremely long time looking for another end city. We had a pretty low render distance because of the server settings, and there was like fog and stuff, so we couldn't really see a whole lot. Eventually, we found the second end city though, so we went inside. Obviously, I mean, like, how else are we supposed to do anything? Anyways, we then looted some chests, bought some shulkers, and I was also given some more food from Nick because I was out of food. Yep. And then I pearled over to the next end ship, and you know, we did the whole defeat the shulker boxing, loot the chests, and collected the elytra. You all know how it goes. And as I was making my way over to an end gateway, I found in the distance one more end city. So I used some of my fireworks that I crafted up before coming to the end to fly up to the ship, where I defeated one more shulker, looted the chests, and got the final elytra, which I gave to Ash. Afterwards, we finally went through the gateway and returned back home. What a crazy journey. Anyways, we're going straight into another task, and that was to look for all the new mobs that was added in 1.21. Well, maybe not all of them. That might take a little too long. Our goal for now was to get everyone at least one unique dog type. So in the end of this whole process, we should have at least 3 unique dogs. And all of them look pretty awesome anyways, so it doesn't really matter what type we get. We obviously used our elytras a little bit, but I also did quite a lot of running since I did want to preserve the durability of my elytra. We spent quite a bit of time going around exploring, looking for all the new biomes that we could find all these dogs in. After some time, I found my dog in a jungle biome. So this dog was a cool brown and orange looking dog, and I'm pretty sure this is called the rusty dog or something like that. But yeah, I tamed it with some bones and then made my way back home with the dog. And by the end of day 57, we all had a unique type. I had the rusty dog, Nick had the snowy dog, and finally the black dog was owned by Ash. And now on day 58, we were going to look for an armadillo since that was also added. Apparently in a previous update. However, I'm just gonna, ignore that and pretend it's a part of 1.21. Whilst looking for the biome, I found a new dog type. So that makes 4 in total now. Not a whole lot more happened. We just flew over to an acacia biome, and there we have it. We found the armadillo. But obviously, we have to complicate things a bit. Yeah, we're going to bring it all the way back home. It was definitely well over 1,000 blocks, so that was going to take us a very long time. Nick definitely voluntarily chose to bring them back home. So whilst he did that, we started working on our next goal, which was to start collecting materials for our very first automatic farm build. Yeah, since we needed like 3,000 blocks or something, we thought the best option would to go and use wood, since breaking 1 log would give us 4 blocks. So yeah, I collected the wood whilst Ash collected the other blocks, and let's check on Nick. I wonder how he's going. Yep, all right. And now that we had all the materials that we were going to need in order to build up this mob farm, it was time to start. Ash and myself were working extremely hard to build up this mob farm, and I'm sure Nick is off doing something extremely important as well. I can't take this seriously. He eventually returns back home and helps out. But for now, we finished off the first platform and then we started working on probably the most tedious part, which was building up 10 of these spawning platforms. It didn't take too long. However, it was just a very repetitive process. Eventually, Nick had returned with the armadillos back home so he could come down and help us out with building up this mob farm. Soon, all 10 platforms were finished, so we could then move on to building the final big platform, which would block out any sunlight, allowing the mobs to spawn even during the daytime. This was built out using slabs, which was kind of annoying to work with. Besides that, not too long later, everything was complete and we officially had a fully functional mob farm, which was ready to produce us a ton of gunpowder, which is actually what we needed. So whilst Ash went AFK at the mob farm, myself and Nick went ahead and started collecting materials for one more farm that we wanted to build during these 100 days. And that was an Enderman farm. The main material that we had to collect was leaves and more building blocks. We collected the leaves using a few shears, and obviously we were going to use the same method as the mob farm for collecting all the building blocks. We were just going to chop down trees for logs, which would then be turned into planks. A bunch of other materials were collected for the farm as well. Besides that, we were all now ready to go and build the next farm. Before we left to go back to the end in order to build up the farm, I went ahead and crafted up some bookshelves and collected the enchant table. Afterwards, we went running to the stronghold, and I made sure to take damage on every single drop down the mountain. Damn! Soon, we found ourselves back at the stronghold, and then we went back to the end to place down the lava so we could make a cobblestone pillar down to the lowest point that we can build at. Afterwards, I got Ash to build over 128 blocks using some of the leaves that we had. Now that we were out here, we could start building out the first platform, and then we would build up the Enderman farm itself. I'm sure you've all seen this farm build many times. In fact, you've probably even seen this farm build in one of my previous videos as well, or maybe you've even built the farm yourself a few times. Essentially, it's a fairly overpowered early game XP farm, and since I've built this so many times in videos, I'm gonna pretty much skim over this build itself quite a bit. We eventually built up the massive spawning platform on top of the farm, and then we also got an endermite in the minecart, which took absolutely ages. So I think this reaction is very justified.
Oh!
Yes, get it in the minecart!
Get it! No!
No. Fuck yes!
Yes!
Well, now this farm build is complete. Now that the farm build was complete, we could start our next goal, which was actually to get better level 30 enchants on our armor, tools, and weapons. All this process was going back and forwards to the farm and the enchant table, re-enchanting everything until we were fairly satisfied with all the enchants that we got on the items. This was easier than getting villagers to trade certain enchants. Yeah, you get the point. Once we were satisfied with all the enchants on our armor, tools, weapons, all that good stuff, we finally decided to return back home by going to the main island and going through the end portal. Sticking to the whole armor theme right now, we actually decided to craft up some of the wolf armor for our dogs using the armadillo scutes that just randomly drop from the armadillos. I personally dyed my dog's armor blue, obviously. I mean, what other color would I dye it? Nick dyed his dog's armor white, and Ash dyed her dog's armor pink. Anyways, we then went ahead and collected all the gunpowder that we got from our mob farm from AFKing earlier. There was a few stacks of it, which was pretty nice. And after all that, we then went ahead and started collecting some sand from all the surrounding rivers and ocean. Yeah, you get the point. Once we collected all this sand, we could then return back home and craft up some TNT along with loads of beds. Because now we were going to go and head back to the Nether to start collecting some ancient debris, which we could then use to get netherite armor and tools. We all went down to Y level 14, which is like the netherite level or something, and started digging out a big tunnel, followed by filling it with loads of the TNT that we had just crafted up. After we did that, we blew it up so we could start finding all the ancient debris. We had absolutely awful luck with all this ancient debris mining. We got a few pieces from that stack of TNT that we crafted, and then we moved on to using the beds, where I got a few more pieces, but in the end, we all got a total of like 13 or so ancient debris. Literally enough for only 3 netherite ingots, which would be enough for 1 for everyone, which I guess is still pretty alright. Eventually, we all made our way back to the portal and went home, or tried to at least.
I need to put my glasses back on. Oh, he's back.
Now, back at home, we could smelt all the ancient debris and then craft up all the netherite ingots that we could. We then crafted up an anvil so I could repair my diamond pickaxe, and then I used my netherite ingot to upgrade my pickaxe to netherite. Nick made some pretty interesting looking armor with some of the armor trims, and then it was time to go mining for some more diamonds once again. After collecting like 50 or so diamonds myself, that put our current total to around 60, but that also doesn't include what the others mined up as well, so we were looking pretty rich once again. And now that we were getting pretty close to the end of this 100-day challenge, there was still a couple more things that we wanted to do. The main goal for now though was to beat the Wither. So we had to go back to the Nether once again, revisit the Nether Fortress, and spend a very, very long time trying to get all the skulls that we needed. This wasn't going very well for us as well, I'm not gonna lie. We went around fighting off a ton of Wither skeletons in hopes that maybe, just maybe, one of them would drop their skulls. Oh. Eventually, we managed to get all 3 of them. But I didn't get a single one myself. Yeah, I wasn't really helping out a whole lot during this process. But that was until we decided to leave the fortress. I personally fought off one more Wither skeleton, which ended up dropping another skull. So now we had 4 of them. That's just great. Back home, I started digging out a tunnel where we would fight this Wither. And then everyone got prepared, ready to spawn in the Wither and defeat him. We started using our bows, and then we had to finally swoop in and start hitting it with our swords because of that weird shield thing that it gets. Anyways, we finally took the last hits, defeating the Wither in our world. And obviously, now we had to craft up the beacon, but we also didn't have enough materials to get the max beacon. So what are we gonna do about that? If you guessed spending the rest of these 100 days down in the mines, collecting loads of iron, gold, diamonds, emeralds, whatever we may find to get blocks, then you would be correct. We spent a very long time, even though we had fortune on our pickaxes, it still didn't help out a whole lot. A long time was just spent smelting all the ores as well, but in the end, after a whole lot of perseverance, hard work, and dedication, we finally managed to get all the blocks that was needed in order to get this maxed out beacon. And maybe if we continue this series into 200 days, we might be able to use this beacon for some crazy builds or something. But who knows? Maybe if this video can reach like 20,000 likes or something, we'll continue this series and drop 200 days. Besides that, thanks for watching, and consider watching this video next.